Interplay began as little more than a gleam in the eye of its founder, Brian Fargo. But through a few early successes and sheer ambition, the company quickly grew into one of the most powerful forces in the industry, both developing games on their own and publishing a slew of others. But by the end of the 90s, the ride was over. Despite becoming a juggernaut in the role-playing genre, none of their games were truly breakout hits. Worse, Interplay could never jump the gap that divided PCs and consoles, a problem since consoles were establishing themselves as the industry's biggest cash cow. In the early 2000s, it all started to go wrong. They started posting loss after loss, quarter after quarter. French company Titus Interactive bought a controlling stake in Interplay, and Titus CEO Hervé Kahn became Interplay's new president. In short order, Interplay's publishing arm was shut down, Fargo left the company, and Kahn started selling off studios and assets. Finally, at the end of 2003, Interplay ceased to be a developer as well, meaning they were no longer making or distributing games. All they had were the rights to gaming properties. At this point, most studios would just throw in the towel. But throughout the last decade, Interplay has somehow struggled along, almost clawing its way back into the limelight, before falling flat on its face once again. So things seemed pretty bad. Then in June 2004, the California state government came knocking. What was their problem? Well, it just so happened that Interplay hadn't paid its own employees in weeks, and their payroll insurance provider hadn't covered the gap. That's against California state law. Also against California state law is not paying state taxes. And oh yeah, it's against federal law not to pay federal taxes. Guess what else Interplay hadn't been doing? Oh, and let's not forget the $400,000 in rent Interplay hadn't paid to its landowner. Oops. However, Hervé Kahn reopened his doors fairly quickly, in a brand new office building and with California's approval. There was only one minor problem. Kahn's other company, Titus, which was Interplay's owner, just so happened to be going bankrupt, and doing it in such a way that they weren't paying any of their employees. Kahn didn't exactly instill confidence in anybody that he was the man to turn Interplay around. Indeed, between 2004 and 2007, very little news came out of Interplay. Every once in a while, there would be a rumor of a game using one of Interplay's properties, and then it would disappear without a sound. And then, seemingly out of the wilderness, salvation arrived. Role-playing powerhouse Bethesda suddenly decided that they wanted to make a Fallout game. And since they were big and Interplay was small, they didn't want to license the IP, they wanted to own it. In 2007, Bethesda paid $6 million to become the proud new owners of a 10-year-old franchise. As part of the deal, Kahn would get a license to make a Fallout MMO, provided he raised the money himself and got the game started within a certain time frame. Remember that exact phrase. Bethesda legally gave Interplay the license to make a Fallout MMO. According to Kahn's brother Eric, the rights to this MMO license were incredibly valuable. If Interplay hadn't gotten it, they would have charged Bethesda $50 million for the sale instead of $6 million. Bethesda would go on to make Fallout 3, which was an absolutely monster success, one of the most successful RPGs ever made. Bethesda finally brought the Fallout brand to consoles, managing what Interplay never could. All of a sudden, Fallout was a huge franchise again. It was exactly what Interplay needed. It made their Fallout MMO a hot property. But in September 2009, Bethesda filed a lawsuit against Interplay. Their contract had stated that Interplay needed to start production on their MMO in a certain time frame. Now, that time was past. Additionally, Interplay had recently repackaged and sold the earlier Fallout games in the wake of Fallout 3's success. But since Bethesda now owned the IP, Bethesda declared that illegal. This case has become a long-running and bitter suit, culminating in Bethesda's recent claim that when they gave Interplay the license to make, quote, a Fallout MMO, all they meant was an MMO named Fallout. In other words, nothing else Fallout related could be in the game. Not the weapons, not the characters, not the locations, and not the famous Pip-Boy. Not even the iconic logo was included in the deal, according to Bethesda. All Interplay could do was make an MMO and call it Fallout. Interplay, of course, protests, stating that the license to a Fallout MMO inherently means that they can use the story world and everything in it. They also claim that they are indeed in production on the MMO, though of course, nothing has been seen of it to date. And to top it all off, Interplay claims that since Bethesda is breaching the terms of the contract, the rights to Fallout should revert back to them. All told, Interplay is in a sorry state. By June 2011, Interplay's cash on hand was a mere $3,000, and meanwhile, the company is $3 million in debt. It recently warned investors that it might have to start laying off staff, which is impressive because they only have 11 people. Even if they were to win their countersuit against Bethesda, it would only give them the right to make a Fallout game, but they have no funding to actually do it. Still, even today, they hold the rights to Earthworm Jim and Baldur's Gate, so if they can license out or sell those properties, they might make some money. What a business model. But whatever they've been reduced to today, their legacy can still be felt across the gaming world. Blizzard is now one half of Activision Blizzard, and their Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo series are amongst the most successful in the industry's history. They got their start from Interplay. BioWare is now in charge of Electronic Arts' entire RPG division, and they have produced some of the most critically acclaimed games of all time. They got their start from Interplay. Treyarch has gone on to the Call of Duty franchise, and their most recent game, Black Ops, is the best-selling game in American history. They got their start from Interplay. And Obsidian Entertainment, founded by the former Interplay guys who created Fallout, finally returned to their franchise with Fallout New Vegas. They have stated that New Vegas is exactly the story they would have told years ago if Black Isle hadn't gone under. And In Exile, the new company of Interplay founder Brian Fargo, just released their latest game, appropriately titled Hunted: The Demon's Forge, an homage back to the game that started it all.